How are you guys doing? Today is Saturday, January 8th, 2022. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to review the elite matchups and performances that took place yesterday on Friday, January 7th, 2022. Taking a step back and taking a look at where we are in this calendar year at the very beginning, starting off with the collegiate ranks. The College Football Playoff National Championship game will be played on Monday. It will feature first-ranked Alabama and third-ranked Georgia as they will face off at Lucas Oil Stadium for the final game of the 2021 calendar season. Of course, looking at college basketball, there we are in the midst or starting to get into conference play, and the only college basketball team that played yesterday was 22nd ranked Xavier. They would go on to beat the unranked Butler Bulldogs, as Xavier would go on to win this matchup 87-72. They won this matchup by 15 after they outscored Butler by 11 in the first half. On the winning end, the Xavier Musketeers were led in scoring by their guard off the bench, Adam Kunkel out of Kentucky. He would go on to finish with 25 points in 26 minutes. He shot 8 for 12 from the field. He shot 4 for 8 from 3, and he shot 5 for 6 from the foul line. So that's the lone college basketball performance yesterday. With this win, the 22nd ranked Xavier Musketeers are 12-2 on the year. They are 2-1 in the Big East. With this loss, unranked Butler is 8-6. They are now 1-2 in their Big East schedule. Looking at the NFL, the last week, the very first week 18 of NFL history will be starting at 4:30 as the defending AFC champs Kansas City Chiefs will face off against the Denver Broncos. The Kansas City Chiefs have already clinched a playoff spot. At the moment, they are tied with the Titans for the best record in the AFC. So a win could do them a lot of service here and could very possibly get them the first round bye. And of course, the Denver Broncos are not they have not qualified for the playoffs, so they are really just trying to spoil the Chiefs' season. And the second game today will be at 8:15 as the 9-7 Philadelphia Eagles are going to host the 11-5 Dallas Cowboys. Of course, the last games are divisional games, and taking a specific look at this division, the Eagles and the Cowboys have both already clinched the playoffs, and the Cowboys have already won the division. If anything, both the Cowboys and the Eagles are trying to play at least for seeding to get a favorable playoff positioning for themselves. The Cowboys could move up into the top 3 possibly, but at the same time, having already clinched, they know that their first game is going to be at home. Taking a look now at what went down with the NBA. As we are approaching the midway point of the NBA season, the Philadelphia 76ers hosted the San Antonio Spurs, and the Sixers were able to pull off a 119-100 win. The Sixers won this matchup by 19 after they went on to outscore the Spurs by 20 in the first quarter, actually. On the losing end of this matchup, the Spurs were led in scoring by their starting point guard out of Washington, DeJounte Murray. He finished with 27 points, 5 rebounds, 9 assists, 3 steals, and 6 turnovers in 36 minutes. He would go on to shoot 10 for 23 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, and 4 for 5 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Sixers were led in scoring by their elite starting center out of Kansas, Joel Embiid. Embiid finished with 31 points, 12 rebounds, and 7 assists in 32 minutes. He shot 10 for 23 from the field and 11 for 15 from the foul line. Their starting power forward, Tobias Harris, finished with 23 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists in 34 minutes. He shot 9 for 12 from the field and 5 for 6 from the foul line. Their starting shooting guard out of Duke, Seth Curry, finished with 23 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists in 37 minutes. He shot 10 for 18 from the field and 3 for 8 from 3. With this win, the Philadelphia 76ers are 22-16. That is the 5th best record in the Eastern Conference. They've won their last 6 games. That is the 2nd best winning streak in the Eastern Conference at the moment, and they are tied with they are 3rd in the NBA. They have the 3rd longest winning streak total. Alongside their 6-game win streak, the Sixers have won 7 of their last 10 games. They trail the first seed Chicago Bulls by 5 games in the Eastern Conference. With this loss, the San Antonio Spurs are down 15-23. That is the 10th best record in the West. They've lost 6 of their last 10 games. They now trail the 8th seed Los Angeles Clippers by 3.5 games in the West. Taking a look now at what is going down in Brooklyn for the very first primetime performance of last night. The Brooklyn Nets hosted the Milwaukee Bucks, the defending NBA champs. The Bucks would end up beating the Nets 121-109. The Bucks won this matchup by 12 after they outscored Brooklyn by 11 in the first half and then by an additional 7 in the third. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Brooklyn Nets were led in scoring by their goated starting power forward, Kevin Durant. The former NBA MVP and two-time Finals MVP would finish with 29 points, 9 rebounds, and 7 assists in 37 minutes. He shot 10 for 19 from the field, 1 for 3 from 3, and a perfect 8 for 8 from the foul line. Their elite starting shooting guard, James Harden, another former NBA MVP, would finish with 12 points and 7 rebounds in 30 minutes as he shot 5 for 9 from the field and 2 for 6 from 3. On the winning end of this matchup, the Milwaukee Bucks would be led in scoring by their elite starting power forward and former NBA MVP, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Antetokounmpo finished with 31 points, 7 rebounds, and 9 assists in 27 minutes. He shot 11 for 17 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3, and he shot 7 for 10 from the foul line. Their starting center, Bobby Portis, out of Arkansas, finished with 25 points and 12 rebounds in 32 minutes. He shot 9 for 16 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3, and a perfect 5 for 5 from the foul line. With this win, the Milwaukee Bucks are now 26-15. That is the third best record in the Eastern Conference as they've won 7 of their last 10 games. They trail the first seed Chicago Bulls by 2.5 games in the conference. With this loss, the Brooklyn Nets are now 24-13. That is the second best record in the Eastern Conference win percentage wise. They've lost 5 of their last 10 games, and alongside the Brooklyn Nets, they trail the Chicago Bulls by 2.5 games in the Eastern Conference. Taking a look now at what's going on in Toronto, north of the border, the Toronto Raptors hosted the Utah Jazz. The Raptors would end up beating the Jazz 122-108. They won this matchup by 14 after they outscored the Jazz by 15 in the third and by an additional 12 in the fourth. The Raptors had to outscore the Jazz by 27 in the second half to win this matchup by 14. On the losing end of this matchup, the Utah Jazz were led in scoring by their starting power forward, Eric Paschall. He finished with 29 points in 39 minutes as he shot 10 for 21 from the field and 7 for 10 from the foul line. And then the Jazz starting small forward, Elijah Hughes out of Syracuse, would go on to finish with 26 points and 8 rebounds as well as 2 steals in 41 minutes. He shot 9 for 15 from the field, 7 for 12 from 3, and he made his only foul attempt of the day. And then, of course, on the winning end of this matchup, the Toronto Raptors would be led in scoring by their starting shooting guard out of Wichita State, Fred VanVleet. Fred VanVleet would finish with 37 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, and 2 steals in 36 minutes. He shot 12 for 22 from the field, 4 for 12 from 3, and he shot a perfect 9 for 9 from the foul line. Their starting small forward out of Indiana, OG Anunoby, would finish with 22 points and 3 steals in 34 minutes. He shot 8 for 13 from the field, 4 for 7 from 3, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. With this win, the Toronto Raptors are now 19-17. That is the 7th best record in the Eastern Conference. They've won their last 5 games, and they've now won 7 of their last 10. They trail the first seed Chicago Bulls by 7 games in the conference. With this loss, the Utah Jazz are now 28-11. That is the 3rd best record in the Western Conference. They've lost only 2 of their last 10 games. They trail the first seed Phoenix Suns by 2.5 games for the conference. Taking a look now at what's going on in Chicago, the Bulls, who hold the best record in the East, hosted the Washington Wizards, and they were able to hold their title with the best record in the conference. The Bulls won this matchup 130-122. They won this matchup by 8 after they outscored the Wizards in the first 3 quarters. On the losing end, the Wizards were led in scoring by their elite starting shooting guard, Bradley Beal. Beal finished with 26 points, 3 rebounds, and 6 assists, as well as 5 turnovers in 34 minutes. He shot 9 for 14 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3, and a perfect 6 for 6 from the foul line. Their starting small forward out of Utah, Kyle Kuzma, finished with 21 points, 11 rebounds, and 2 steals, as the former NBA champ shot 7 for 17 from the field and 7 for 8 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Chicago Bulls were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard out of LA, the former All-Star Zach LaVine. He finished with 27 points in 33 minutes as he shot 9 for 18 from the field, and he would go on to make all 8 of his foul line attempts. Their point guard off the bench, Kobe White, finished with 21 points in 32 minutes. He shot 7 for 8 from the field, a perfect 4 for 4 from 3, and a perfect 3 for 3 from the foul line. With this win, the Chicago Bulls are now 26-10. That is the best record in the Eastern Conference. They've now won their last 9 games. They've won 9 of their last 10. Their 9-game winning streak is the best winning streak in all of basketball right now. They are surging. They are sitting 2.5 games ahead of the second-place Brooklyn Nets and the third-seed Milwaukee Bucks in the conference. With this loss, the Washington Wizards are 19-20. That is the 9th best record in the Eastern Conference. They've lost their last 2 games. They've lost 6 of their last 10. They trail the 8th-seed Charlotte Hornets by a game. Taking a look at what now is going down in Houston, the Houston Rockets hosted their in-state rival, the Dallas Mavericks. The Mavericks would beat the Rockets 130-106. The Mavericks would win this matchup by 24 after they outscored the Rockets by 20 in the first quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the Houston Rockets were led in scoring by their starting center, Christian Wood. Wood finished with 20 points. He would also go on to play in 24 minutes. In the 24 minutes he played, his 20 points would be his shooting 8 for 13 from the field on the night, along with his 3 for 7 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Dallas Mavericks were led in scoring by their small forward off the bench, Tim Hardaway Jr. He finished with 19 points and 7 assists in 24 minutes. He shot 5 for 11 from the field. All of his makes came from 3. He was 5 for 10 from 3. And then with this win, the Dallas Mavericks are now 21-18. That is the 5th best record in the Western Conference. They've won their last 5 games. That is the second longest winning streak in the Western Conference. They've won 7 of their last 10. They trail the first seed Phoenix Suns by 9.5 games. Taking a look now at what's going on with this, or looking at the losing end of this matchup, the Houston Rockets are now 11-29. That is the worst record in the Western Conference, as they've lost 9 of their last 10. They currently sit 7.5. They sit 8.5 games behind the 8th seed Los Angeles Clippers in the West. Taking a look now at what's going on one state north in Oklahoma City, the Thunder hosted the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Timberwolves would end up beating the Thunder 135-105. They won this matchup by 30 after they outscored Oklahoma City by 16 in the first half and then by an additional 14 in the second. On the losing end of this matchup, the Thunder were led in scoring by their starting small forward, Lou Dort, out of Arizona State. Dort would go on to finish with 18 points and 2 blocks in 27 minutes. He shot 5 for 11 from the field. He would shoot 3 for 7 from 3 and 5 for 6 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Minnesota Timberwolves would be led in scoring by their starting point guard, D'Angelo Russell, out of Ohio State. He finished with 27 points, 12 assists, and 2 steals in 31 minutes. He shot 11 for 12 from the field, 4 for 5 from 3, and he made his only free throw attempt of the night. Their elite starting small forward, Anthony Edwards, finished with 24 points, 6 rebounds, and 7 assists in 29 minutes. He shot 9 for 16 from the field and 6 for 9 from 3. And their elite starting center, Karl Anthony Towns, finished with 19 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 blocks in 27 minutes. He shot 7 for 11 from the field and 5 for 6 from the foul line. With this win, the Minnesota Timberwolves are now 19-20. That is the 9th best record, or tied with the Clippers for the 8th best record in the Western Conference. The Timberwolves have now won their last 3 games, and they've now won 5 of their last 10. They currently sit 11.5 games behind the first seed Phoenix Suns in the West, even though at the moment they are holding on to that. They're pretty much tied with the Clippers for that 8th spot, and they're sitting basically even. With this loss, the Oklahoma City Thunder are now 13-25. That is the second worst record in the Western Conference. They've lost their last 3 games. They've lost 6 of their last 10. They currently sit 5.5 games behind the 8th seed Los Angeles Clippers, who are tied with the Minnesota Timberwolves as well. Taking a look now at what went down in Denver in the Mile High City, the Nuggets hosted the Sacramento Kings. The Nuggets would win this matchup 121-111. They won this game by 10 after they outscored the Kings by 12 in the first quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the Kings were led in scoring by their starting point guard out of Kentucky, De'Aaron Fox. He finished with 30 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists in 38 minutes. Fox shot 11 for 23 from the field and 8 for 10 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Nuggets were led in scoring by their elite starting center, last year's MVP, Nikola Jokic. Jokic would go on to finish with 33 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks Hawks in 34 minutes. He shot 13 for 20 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, and he shot 4 for 8 from the foul line. With this win, the Denver Nuggets are now 19-18. That is the 7th best record in the Western Conference. They've won 5 of their last 10 games, and they sit 10.5 games behind the first seed Phoenix Suns, just to get a sense of where they sit. With this loss, the Sacramento Kings are 16-25. That is the 5th worst record in the Western Conference, as they've lost their last 3 games. They've lost 7 of their last 10. They currently sit 4 games behind the 8th seed LA Clippers, who are tied with the Minnesota Timberwolves at the moment. Jumping out to Los Angeles to the Crypto.com arena, the Los Angeles Lakers hosted the Atlanta Hawks. And in this matchup, the Lakers would beat the Hawks 134-118. The Lakers won this matchup by 16 after they outscored the Hawks by 13 in the second half. On the losing end of this matchup, the Hawks were led in scoring by their elite starting point guard Trae Young out of Oklahoma. He finished with 25 points, 9 rebounds, 14 assists, and 9 turnovers in 36 minutes. He shot 8 for 21 from the field, 1 for 7 from 3, and he shot 8 for 10 from the foul line. Their starting power forward out of Wake Forest, John Collins, would finish with 21 points and 8 rebounds in 32 minutes. He shot 8 for 17 from the field and a perfect 5 for 5 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the LA Lakers were led in scoring by their goated starting small forward, 4-time NBA Finals MVP LeBron James. He finished with 32 points, 8 rebounds, 9 assists, 4 steals, and 3 blocks in 37 minutes. He shot 13 for 24 from the field, 1 for 6 from 3, and he shot a perfect 5 for 5 from the foul line. Their starting shooting guard out of Kentucky, Malik Monk, finished with 29 points and 2 steals in 35 minutes. He shot 11 for 20 from the field, and he shot 7 for 12 from 3. Their starting point guard, Avery Bradley, finished with 21 points and 6 rebounds in 24 minutes. He shot 8 for 11 from the field, 4 for 7 from 3, and he made his only free throw attempt of the night. Their shooting guard off the bench, Talen Horton-Tucker, finished with 21 points, 5 assists, and 2 steals in 31 minutes. He shot 7 for 13 from the field and a perfect 6 for 6 from the foul line. Also back in their starting lineup, their elite starting point guard, Russell Westbrook, would finish with 9 points, 11 rebounds, and 13 assists as he fouled out in 31 minutes. The NBA's all-time leader in triple-doubles would finish shooting 4 for 14 from the field, and he shot 1 for 3 from the foul line. With this win, the Los Angeles Lakers are now 21-19. That is the 6th best record in the Western Conference as they've won their last 4 games. They've won 5 of their last 10 as they sit 10 games behind the first seed Phoenix Suns in the conference. With this loss, the Atlanta Hawks are now 17-21. That is the 4th worst record in the Eastern Conference. They've lost 7 of their last 10. They currently sit 2.5 games behind the 8th seed Charlotte Hornets in the conference. And then last but not least, taking a look at what went down in Portland, the Trailblazers hosted the Cleveland Cavaliers. And in this matchup between the Reds, or I guess between the teams that are pretty similar in shade and color, the Cavaliers would end up beating the Trailblazers 114-101. They won this matchup by 13. They outscored the Trailblazers by 10 in the first half and by an additional 9 in the fourth quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the Portland Trailblazers were led in scoring by their starting small forward, Norman Powell. Powell finished with 19 points and 5 rebounds in 37 minutes. He shot 5 for 14 from the field, 4 for 8 from 3, and he shot 5 for 8 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Cleveland Cavaliers were led in scoring by their starting point guard, Darius Garland. Garland finished with 26 points and 6 assists, in 39 minutes. He shot 10 for 17 from the field, 5 for 8 from 3, and he made his only foul attempt of the night. With this win, the Cleveland Cavaliers are now 22-17. That is currently the 6th best record in the Eastern Conference. They've won 5 of their last 10 games. They now trail the first seed Chicago Bulls by 5.5 games in the Eastern Conference for the time being. And then, of course, with this loss, the Portland Trailblazers are now 14-24. That is the 4th worst record in the Western Conference. They've lost their last 2 games. They've lost 7 of their last 10. They trail the 8th seed LA Clippers by 4.5 games in the conference, just to get a sense of where they are. That is what the NBA is looking like following yesterday's matchups. Taking a look at what's going on today, of course, starting with the primetime matchups. The only matchup that will be on TV will be at 7:30 as the Boston Celtics are going to host the New York Knicks. The Celtics hold the 5th worst record in the Eastern Conference, and then the Knicks hold the 10th worst record in the Eastern Conference. They sit right ahead of the Celtics. Looking at the games that aren't on primetime, at 3:30, the LA Clippers are going to host the Grizzlies in the Crypto.com Arena. At 7 o'clock, the Charlotte Hornets are going to host the defending champs Milwaukee Bucks in the Spectrum Center. At the same time, the Detroit Pistons are going to host the Orlando Magic, as they both hold the worst records in the league. At the same time, the Indiana Pacers are going to host the Utah Jazz. And then at 9 o'clock, the Phoenix Suns, who hold the best record in the East, or who hold the best record in the West, are going to host the Miami Heat, who happen to have the fourth best record in the East. So that is what basketball is looking like as we are approaching the midway point. And then taking a look at what's going on with soccer as we are now in the second half of the domestic seasons and even just international as we hit the midway point in the European schedule. Starting first with the league matchup, the defending Bundesliga champs Bayern Munich hosted Borussia Mönchengladbach. Borussia Mönchengladbach was able to beat Bayern Munich 2-1 as Bayern's lone goal came from its goated Polish striker Robert Lewandowski. Mönchengladbach would score 2 goals within about 15 minutes of that, as they would get their first goal from their young German, really talented midfielder Florian Neuhaus. But with this win, Borussia Mönchengladbach is currently sitting 11th in the Bundesliga table, as they sit 5 points out of 6th. And with this loss, Bayern Munich is still sitting with the best record in the Bundesliga, sitting 9 spots over the second best team in the division, which in this instance is Borussia Dortmund. So that is how the Bundesliga is shaping out. And then looking at the English FA Cup, which is the domestic cup that is of course taking place in England. In this particular third round matchup, Manchester City would end up beating Swindon Town 4-1 to advance to the next round. Their first goal coming from Bernardo Silva and Gabriel Jesus. They would get the pair of goals in the first half. And then their third goal come from Ilkay Gundogan in the 59th minute. And then after Swindon Town's lone goal in the 78th minute, Cole Palmer would score in the 82nd minute to put Man City up by 3 and help get them to the next round. So that is what that tournament is looking like as we navigate through that day by day. Taking a look at what's going on today as we hit yet another Sunday. This is a big, or I guess starting off with the FA Cup that we are continuing off of from yesterday. It looks as though Chelsea is going to face off against Chesterfield. That was the matchup I was zooming in on. And Chelsea, of course, is going to host this matchup, a very opportune moment for Chelsea to advance to the next round. They're the big Premier League team that is playing today in this tournament. Taking a look now at what is going on in La Liga, Barcelona is going to face off against Granada at 12:30. Taking a look at where Barcelona is, they are sitting 5th in La Liga as they sit 1 point out of 4th place, so a win could actually do them a lot of good. They sit 1 point behind Atletico Madrid, and Real Madrid is going to host Valencia. Real Madrid is holding the best record in La Liga right now as they sit 5 points clear of second place Sevilla. So a win could, of course, do them a lot of good right there. Taking a look at what is going down in the Bundesliga, the team that's currently holding second place, Borussia Dortmund, is going to face off against Eintracht Frankfurt. Because Bayern Munich lost, they have a chance to move within 6 now because they trail Bayern by 9 points, so a win here is pretty much needed. And that's everything that I have from yesterday and today as we navigate through this world of sports one day at a time. I want to thank everyone for listening to all 24 minutes of this piece. I also want to thank the ESPN, NCAA, NFL, NBA, and FIFA websites for giving me all that I needed in order to do this. With that said, I want to thank everyone once again. I apologize if I butchered any of the names. And once again, once all of today's exhibitions and matchups are done, I'm going to come back tomorrow on Sunday, January 9th for another episode. So until then, thanks for listening. I hope all is well, and I'll catch you with another episode after this. Peace out.